Peace is a concept of societal friendship and harmony in the absence of hostility and violence. In a social sense, peace is commonly used to mean a lack of conflict and freedom from fear of violence between individuals or groups. A conflict is a clash of interest. The basis of conflict may vary, but it is always a part of society. Basis of conflict may be personal, racial, class, caste, political, and international. Conflict in groups often follows a specific cause. What is the connection between conflict and peace other than being antonyms? Its example is the Syrian civil war, which happened against the government to maintain peace. If someone would look closely, so it could also be said that indirectly the Cold War happened so that USSR and USA could maintain peace in their regions. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is the ongoing struggle between Israelis and Palestinians that began in the mid-20th century amidst the greater Arab-Israeli conflict. Various attempts have been made to resolve the conflict as part of the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. The origins to the conflict can be traced back to Jewish immigration and sectarian conflict in mandatory Palestine between Jews and Arabs. It has been referred to as the world's most intractable conflict, with the ongoing Israeli occupation of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip reaching 53 years despite a long-term peace process, and the general reconciliation of Israel with Egypt and Jordan. Israelis and Palestinians have failed to reach a final peace agreement. First, this area was under the rule of Ottoman Empire for centuries. At that time there were Muslims, which were in majority, and some Christians, and a few Jews. They all lived in harmony until some Arabs started distinguishing themselves by calling them Palestinians as their national identity. And at the same time, not so far away in Europe, Jews were joining to form a movement called Zionism, which said that Judaism was not just a religion, but a nationality, one which deserves a nation. For this the Jews were oppressed, and then they considered the Middle East as their safest location, due to which this happened. The Jewish population in Palestine started to rise by a great rate. The after World War I, the Ottoman Empire collapsed, hence Britain and France took over Middle East, and Britain took the part of Palestine. First the British allowed Jews immigration, but as the rate increased, the tensions between the Arabs and Jews grew. This worried the Britain, so Britain banned Jews immigration, due to which Jews created two forces. One was to oppose British rule, and one was to resist Arabs. Then later, in around 1947, the UN divided British Palestine into two: Israel, Jews, and Arabs, Palestine, and then Britain left the Middle East. Then all the Arabs in the world declared that they wanted a separate nation in the Middle East. So it can be determined that the war is mainly for the land. In the early 20th century, when the Zionism movement was formed, in which the Jews were in search of a safe homeland to build a nation where they could stay safely, the Jews started to migrate to Palestine. After the war was over in 1947, United Nations decided to partition Palestine into two countries, the Jewish state of Israel and the Arab state into Palestine. Israel agreed to the partition, and borders were drawn of the two states in 1947. But Muslims were not happy, as they thought that the partition favored the Jews more. And in 1948, Arab League, with a group of surrounding Arab countries, rejected the partition and attacked. And Muslims lost, and the Jews took over the land of Palestine, due to which many Muslims lost their homes and took refuge. There have been several major consequences of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. One main obvious consequence was of course the destruction and loss of life. Not only was there the loss of life from soldiers in both sides, but also innocents were murdered. For example, the Deir Yassin massacre witnessed the death of 245 men, women, and children. Moreover, the same month, the Arabs retaliated, killing 77 mainly Jewish doctors and nurses. As these attacks continued, many people died. Most of them died for no reason, such as a 13-year-old boy and his 10-year-old sister went out of their house. and the sister got shot down right in front of the brother. And another example is that in one Palestinian family in which there were two parents, and the rest of their family consisted of girls as their children, so one day two Israel soldiers entered the house and shot down the father. Another major consequence of the Arab-Israeli War of 1948 was the problem of Palestinian refugees. By the end of the war, the UN estimated that the total refugee population, by June 1949, was 940,000 from 369 Palestinian towns and villages. However, there are disputes over how many Palestinians actually left. Regardless of the exact number, the truth remains that there was a significant number of Palestinians who were left homeless as a result of the war. It is the solution to this problem, which caused further dispute between Arabs and Jews. The Jewish argument was that Palestinians should be integrated into the Arab states, whereas the Arabs argued that refugees should be able to return to their rightful homes. It is equally true that there can and will be no peace for Israel until there is peace for the Palestinians, including those in diaspora. The United States has proven incapable of creating strategic circumstances conducive to serious, as opposed to make-believe negotiations between the warring parties in the Holy Land. Perhaps, however, such circumstances are nonetheless finally emerging, allowing Palestinians and Israelis to attempt a fresh start at achieving peaceful coexistence. They must look to themselves, to others in the region, and to new non-American mediators to accomplish this. That Palestinians and Israelis find a mutually agreeable basis for peaceful coexistence is essential not only to their own well-being but to that of the wider world. Only they can make the decisions necessary to achieve this. But in our own interest, the rest of us must help them as best we can. The adverse consequences of the Israel-Palestine conflict have penetrated and extended far beyond the two parties to the holy war now raging in Palestine. The benefits of peace there would be equally deep and wide. And this is not only our solution to this conflict, but of a lot of other people who live in Israel and Palestine.
I think we did come to some sort of an agreement that we both do want peace.
No, I don't. Not everyone. I want security, freedom, and prosperity.
You were talking about legal peace.
I don't want a piece of paper that says peace. I want to live in peace. I don't want a piece of paper that says we have a peace treaty.
Yeah,
That's what we meant as well.
No, okay.
Palestinian and me being Israeli, for us to take the responsibility within our own sides, to have those conversations with our own people, of finding a way to come together, and to understand the other side, and to humanize the other side.
Number 1. Palestine has some anonymous zones where Palestinians can live in peace if we increase their number, so there would be fewer refugees. Number 2. There should be no restrictions on Palestinians regarding traveling abroad and owning an airport. Number 3. More Palestinians should be permitted to work in Israel. Number 4. Palestine should be given land to do business on. Number 5. Israel would have to refrain from expanding its settlements outside the major blocks. Number 6. Palestine is totally isolated from the outside world in terms of trade. Thus, Palestine should be given permission to freely trade around the globe. Number 7. Palestinian tax, customs, import, and export systems rely on, and are effectively controlled by Israel. All Palestinian tax, customs, import, and export systems should be controlled by Palestine.